Welcome to the FTG podcast. This podcast is for homeschool parents who are out how to build their child's character on biblical foundations. It's fun, educational, and can help you get organized and passionate about homeschooling. Twice a month for 30 minutes, we share stories, guidance, tips, and interviews with guests that are full of love for God, adventure, and are skillfully successful at coaching homeschool parents through life or homeschool issues. Our listeners become our community who get results from taking action. So join us. Here is your host, author, speaker, and creator of Fetch the Goodness, Kelly Frazier.
Hello, Fetch the Goodness family. Welcome. We are so glad that you're here. Today, I have brought someone to you that will help you if you are at all concerned about how are we going to financially support our homeschooling scenario here in our environment. We want it to be stress-free, we want it to be loving, and we want to be able to help our children in a way that we don't have to be concerned about finances. Well, one of the reasons why I have brought my guest on, Debra Burns, I am so excited because she actually works from home and she's going to help you decide how to work from home as well. So thank you so much for being here, Debra. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I own a medical transcription company. Our headquarters are in Phoenix, Arizona. That's where we're broadcasting today, and temperature is going to be about 115 degrees. So that's typical for life here in the desert Southwest. I have a large office. We've added onto the front of our home, and I have an administrative staff that comes in and runs the day-to-day operations of the business. And then we have 42 medical transcriptionists working for us from home, and most of them are home educators. Many of my staff members, the administrative team, they're also home educators. So I believe it's a very good fit for our home educators. It helps us stay at home. And a great point is that while we have many adults working for us, it's also a great job for our home educated teens. Many of them are good at independent work. And that's what I'm looking for, is somebody who can work independently. They're good at language skills. They're a really good fit for medical transcription. So there are no age limits, no age restrictions whatsoever. So it's a great job for moms and dads as well as teens.
That is fabulous. I did not know that. So I'm sitting here going, that's pretty awesome. I would love our teens to be able to get involved. In Fetch the Goodness, we have some teens involved in creating. We have actually our director for our animation is a teenager. So we are so excited to hear about that. And I know that the parents are going to be excited to hear about it as well. So tell me a little bit about how you got started in it.
Well, I was part of corporate America. My husband was a pastor at the time. Very limited income, so I was the main income. And this was back in the 80s when we were doing a lot of building in the Southwest. We'd overbuilt, overextended ourselves. We were running into trouble. They started doing layoffs. They put us on from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, then through Saturday, and then alternating Sunday mornings, which did not work out well for a pastor's wife. It got to be very stressful. And one day I was caught making a personal phone call on company time. This was back in the days before cell phones. You had to. And I got called into my boss's office, and I was told that there was such an attitude of acute paranoia around the company that if any of the shareholders were to walk through, see that I had spare time on my hands, I could be fired on the spot. I told him about giving my life to this company. He said, "I'm sorry, that's just the way it is." A few weeks later, I was caught typing a personal letter on the company computer. This is my lunch hour. I knew that was allowed, no problem with that at all. But my boss was under a lot of stress and pressure. And in his defense, he was a very fair, kind man. But he was stressed, he was tired, he was frightened. He knew that the company was going to declare bankruptcy. We didn't know that yet. He called me in his office and said because it was my second infraction, he was going to write me up. I'd never been written up for anything. I'm a people pleaser. And he hurt my feelings. He caught me at a time when I was so overtired. I did something that I very much regret, and I've since apologized for. I lost my temper. You know those things that you think about your boss, but they can never be said aloud in your lifetime?
Right.
I did some of them. And I said I quit, and I stopped out. And I stewed and fumed all the way home and felt pretty self-righteous until I got home and told my husband what I had done. Because his second job was working construction. He had just been laid off. And I was our sole source of income. I had a choice at that point. I could go back out into corporate America, start climbing my way up that corporate ladder, probably starting close to the bottom again, or I could start my own business. I thought, how hard can this be? I've watched the business be run wrong all these years, so therefore that makes me qualified to run one right. And I was wrong. My first year in business was a disaster. I'd never heard of medical transcription. My goal was to start a word processing company. I wanted to do basic typing, CVs, resumes, term papers. What I hadn't figured on is most of those sorts of tasks are one time only. When you finish with somebody's CV, there's no more work on that source. I was spending more time, money, energy, marketing than I was bringing in an income. I was so discouraged. I was at my family doctor one day. I happened to throw out my tale of woe to him. He asked me if I'd ever considered medical transcription. I'd never heard of it. I didn't know what it was. He told me that when a doctor says take an aspirin, call me in the morning, the doctor must dictate that. Somebody must transcribe it. But I can do that. I've always been good at typing. I'm a decent speller. I knew a lot of medical terms. I'd worked in the medical field before corporate America. So I talked him into giving me a chance without work experience. I have to be honest, doctors won't do this anymore. People like me have ruined it for everybody else. Now doctors require that you have work experience. But this was a long time ago. This doctor was a more trusting soul. He didn't know better. He sent me home with my very first tape. Years ago, we used to transcribe from audio cassette tapes. It made it very complicated. We were limited to clients only in our local geographical area. Now we can work from anywhere, which is the beauty of my business. I have medical transcriptionists all around the US and in Canada. This was a long time ago. I got a tape. I took it home, stuck it in my transcription machine. I was so excited because the doctor told me if I did a good job, I could go back to his office every day, 5 days a week. This was going to be ongoing, time budgetable, money budgetable work. This is how I believe.
Yeah,
I didn't
that's
understand a word he said. When I was talking to him face to face, he spoke clear, common, ordinary, everyday English. When he got a hold of that little handheld recorder, he jumped into high gear. He started talking 10 times faster than I talk.
Oh, no.
8 while he was doing it. He used words like salpingo oophorectomy and guaiac and coccidioidomycosis. Those were
What?
the simple ones.
Oh my goodness. So Deb, had you not taken any educational background in medical?
No, but I had been a
Oh, my
nursing
goodness.
assistant. My dad owned a nursing home. I had been a nursing assistant. I knew a lot of medical terms. I'd worked as a nursing assistant to RNs. I knew the words. I just didn't understand. It was so hard to understand what he was saying. And a lot of the words aren't words that you use in nursing. So I was just totally flummoxed.
Yeah, I bet.
So it took me years of getting fired before I got the hang of medical transcription. That's not the way to learn it.
Right.
And doctors won't give us a chance without work experience now.
Yeah.
So we train and we hire.
Okay, this is fabulous. You know what I love the most about what you're saying here? I love the fact that you stepped out and decided to do something on your own, regardless of whether or not you actually knew how to do it. I tell you, when we have a perfectionist point of view that we feel like we have to be perfect at everything, we will not step out like that. We will not, because we don't understand that really the perfectionism comes from being afraid to make mistakes. When you don't have a perfectionistic attitude, then you're willing and able to just get out there and do the work, regardless of how it actually turns out. Now, none of us ever want to put out something that's not excellent, and I understand that. But I love what you're saying, that you literally were able to just get out there not knowing, and you just did it and learned on the way. And on-the-job training is not always fun, but sometimes it is necessary. And I know in my industry, it's very necessary sometimes. But here's the second thing that I love about what you said. When you started sharing about, okay, here I was in corporate America, and I knew that I had these skills, right? Not a lot of people will sit there and say, okay, these are the skills that I have. How can I use them to benefit others? And that's exactly what you did. You decided you have these XYZ skills, and now you can use them to benefit other people. And that is how you start a business. If there is a problem that you can solve with your skills, then that's what you need to do. And sometimes I believe that this is what God puts inside of us. Like he placed these gifts in you, and you use them to the benefit and to his glory to be able to share with other people. But not everybody sees it that way. A lot of people, myself included, I went through a time period where I didn't see my gifts or my talents as any big deal. I didn't see them as something that I could use for other people. But now, as I'm older and more mature in the Lord, now I totally understand. He didn't give us these gifts that are just going to go by the wayside. He gave us these things to improve on so that we can serve others and that we can bring them into the kingdom. So I just praise God that you did that. Okay, so I have to ask you a question. How fast do you type?
I'm not sure, but you don't have to be a fast typist. First of all, when you go through a good course, your typing speed will pick up. Mm-hmm. Then when you get your first client, you get over that learning curve, you get used to them, their style, their weird words, the words they make up. Your typing speed's going to increase, and you're going to hear that same doctor talking to you every day. You can anticipate what they're going to say. Then you can use your word processing software to create shortcuts. When I type on my keyboard LPA, my screen expands to lungs are clear to percussion and auscultation. That's a very common phrase in the medical language.
Yeah.
When I type IF and an asterisk on my keyboard, I get, if I may be of further service to you, please do not hesitate to contact me.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic.
Doubles your productivity.
Yes, that's
So
awesome.
you can start off at any typing speed, and your typing speed will increase. So if you type, say, 60 words a minute now, when you use shortcuts, also known as macros, and that's built into the word processing software you already have, it will double your productivity. You can easily go from 60 words a minute to 120 words a minute. Or by comparison, if you do 10 pages in an hour, you can now do 20 pages in an hour. And that's why many of us make very good money. Not because we were fast on the keyboard, but because we developed those shortcuts. One of the beauties of my business is we assign a specific doctor dictator to you. You get to know them. That means that after a few days, you recognize those common words and phrases. So we don't utilize a typing pool system. A client is your client. You transcribe for them every day, 5 days a week.
Wow, that is fantastic. Okay, so I know with the ability to have AI, how does that impact or impede what it is that you're doing with your company?
AI, when we look at word processing, is telling AI that there's a story to be told. So I was in a Sunday school class just a couple of weeks ago. We're going through the book of Acts, verse by verse. Our teacher is brilliant. He's also a techie. So we were at the part where Paul is doing a sermon on Mars Hill. He said he found a really good recording that will give us a background of Mars Hill. So he put the recording up on the screen. We all listened. And there were a couple of times when we were looking at each other thinking something's off. But it was great because it talked about Paul's background and how he didn't go into this city and say, you stupid people. He said, I really admire you for your worship of your gods and how much you want to worship God. And he went into that backdoor approach, and AI, because it was AI, told us that's how we should witness to others. And if somebody's in a bar or enjoys sports, then we should relate to them that way. And many of us were going, wait a minute. So what they had done, my Sunday school teacher and his techie crew, they had told AI, we want a discourse on Paul and Mars Hill. And that's all they said. AI created the story. So if you go to AI and say, we just performed an appendectomy, AI will create a master appendectomy. It will have nothing to do with your appendectomy. What you experience on the table, especially if you had peritonitis and a ruptured appendix, is going to be totally different than what AI is going to say.
Right.
AI, even if they're in the room and they're watching the appendectomy, unless it's dictated step by step, it's not accurate. So while some doctors are trying voice recognition technology, it also doesn't work well. It might hear hyena instead of hiatal hernia. So in a way, it's helped our field because now we have a lot of openings for editors as well as what we call straight transcription. So we actually have more work in volume and variety than ever before.
That is fantastic. I'm telling you right now, I can see so many parents getting so excited for this because we have a lot of people who are really exiting the public school systems right now, and they're very concerned about how are they going to financially support themselves. And what you're talking about, I remember seeing you, because I just so that you guys know, Deb and I met at the Greenville homeschool convention, right? It was Greenville, wasn't it? I've been to, yeah,
And about 6 of them this year. Yes.
Yeah. So when I first met her, she had the medical transcriptionist behind her, but I thought that that's all it was, right? Just the medical transcription part. But when I started talking to her, she goes, oh no, it's far more than that. So now I understand a little bit anyhow about how it can expand, and how, whether you, like you said, if you type 60 words a minute or 120 words a minute, this can be something that not only is it going to last and endure, because as we just said, AI and transcription dictation doesn't really, have all of the languaging. I really feel like this is something that parents are going to be very, very excited about, Deb. So tell me a little bit more about like the work day. Like we have our homeschool families, and you said you have a lot of educators. I think you said all of them were educators, right?
Yes. Well, not all of our transcriptionists. Actually, some of them, I don't know. I've never met them. I've never met a lot of my people.
Oh, okay.
Some of them I meet at home education conventions. So I know many are home educators. Debbie Garcia, Tiffany, others are home educators. Some I'm just not sure of.
Do you know a little bit about how it actually works into their schedule? Like, do they homeschool in the morning and then they do the work in the afternoon, or how does their schedule work? Do you have any idea?
Well, that's the nice thing. There is no schedule. We have a day or two to get the work back. If you're a morning person, that's fine. If you're a night owl, that's okay, as long as you get the work back a day or two later. So you can work it in and around your home education schedule. So when my son was little, I made sure that I did it while he napped and when my husband came home from work and in quiet times. As he got older and we started home educating desk next to each other, we worked together in a way. Then, instead of working fast food through high school, he helped me run my business. That gave him a good appreciation of how when somebody's on the phone and you walk into the room, you're quiet. Or he knows about marketing. He knows how to use QuickBooks. He just opened his own martial arts school. He's going to be very successful because I trained him well. Right. So one thing that I like about what we do is that we can bring our kids into it. And we can work whatever hours we choose. So it works well in and around home education.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I was an entrepreneur when my daughter was working on her schoolwork behind me, and same exact thing. She's now an entrepreneur. She's a photographer in Canada, and she does extremely well with her photography. So here's the thing. You may be thinking medical transcription. For those that are listening, you may be thinking, no, medical transcription really doesn't sound like something I would be excited about. Okay. But let me just share something with you. My daughter types probably 160 words per minute. I don't even know if that's humanly possible, but here's what she does. She works for a company that does website designs for veterans. Okay. Her and her husband both work out of the same office in their home, actually. And so while he's building the websites, she's literally handling customer service. Now there's several people in her department. Okay. This is not their company. This is another organization that has this company. So while most everybody in her department for customer service, they do 60 clients, she can do 120 clients because she types so fast. So if you have a fast typing speed that you already know, and maybe accuracy is not there, and that's okay too, but it sounds to me, Deborah, like your course can literally walk them through from step one all the way to the very end. And then I think the question would be, how much income does this truly supply? And if this is not a question that you can answer publicly, that's okay. And we can edit it out. But if you can, that would be awesome.
Well, the income varies. It depends whether you're working from home as an independent contractor or on site as an employee. Most of us work from home. When we work from home, we're an independent contractor, also known as a subcontractor. That's very different than an employee. An employee is somebody who works on site for an employer The employer then pays half their Social Security, unemployment, workman's compensation, health insurance, paid vacation, paid holidays, paid sick days. That's not something we get when we work from home as an independent contractor. When you work for me or another service, you are an independent contractor. You're paid by the line typed. So you're paid anywhere between 7 to 10 cents a line working for somebody like me, 11 to 14 cents a line if you work directly with your own clients rather than through a service like mine. So for the purposes of an illustration, easier math, easier visual, let's say 10 cents a line. That's somewhere in the middle. A little bit less working for a service, a little bit more out on your own. There's an average of 40 lines per page. At 10 cents a line, that's about $4 a page. A good medical transcriptionist, once they got over the learning curve, it takes us all with a new client, should be able to do about 10 pages in an hour. Our transcriptions average 15 to 20 pages in an hour. That's because they're using those macros, the shortcuts. So even without being a fast typist, you can make very good money. The larger amounts that we see out there, some of our people are averaging $60, $70 an hour. That's because they have those macros created.
Wow, that's fantastic. I'm so thankful for macros. I know I learned about macros many, many years ago. And it's funny because I don't think I've heard the word macro in forever, like years and years and years. So when you said it initially, I was like, oh, wow, that's so interesting because I know I used to use them all the time, but I've forgotten to use them. And I don't even know if Mac provides. Let's talk about that. What's the difference between using a Mac and a PC? Is there any when you're doing medical transcription?
Yes, there is. First of all, you do have to have Microsoft Word. So you have to have that with your Mac. But also we use a foot pedal. So we can stop and start with a foot pedal rather than our hands on the keyboard. It's a matter of a personal choice. Some of our newer people coming up don't mind using a combination of function keys and all kinds of keys on the keyboard to advance the dictation, to rewind, fast forward, slow down, speed up. Those of us who like keeping our hands on the home keys, and that's an old-fashioned word, and we don't like venturing out to all those upper things and using combinations. I don't like that. We plug a foot pedal into our computer. It looks and acts very similar to a sewing machine foot pedal. It plugs into our computer, it comes with software, and when we press the foot pedal down, the doctor's voice starts. When we lift the foot pedal up, the doctor's voice stops. We can fast forward, we can rewind, we can slow down, we can speed up. There aren't as many foot pedals out there that are compatible with Mac as there are with PC users. That's not to say you can't use a Mac. You can, but there aren't as many of those add-on options like a line counter and other things that we can add on for Mac users. Several of our people are Mac users. It's also important that we can send and receive files from a doctor, and sometimes it doesn't work as well with Mac.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you said that because for those that do have Macs, this does not count you out, right? So like she
not
said,
at all.
exactly. So we know there's already transcriptionists out there in her organization that are using the Mac. So definitely don't feel like you can't because you have a Mac. I have a Mac and I'm very grateful for it. It's definitely different than a PC for sure. Okay. So Debra, what about the way that you have to connect with the people that you are actually transcribing for? Do you have to have a relationship with them, or is this something that you can just simply do like it's a job? How do you see it?
A little bit of both. Okay. Because some services like mine operate on the typing pool system. You just log in, you listen to whatever's coming down the pike on that recording, you don't know who it is, and you transcribe for them. That works nice because you can work more sporadically. That doesn't work for us. I assign a specific doctor dictator to you. You get to know the dictator. That makes it nice. You can create those shortcuts. But you are developing a little bit of a relationship with the medical records clerk or the office manager, not the doctor, but the support staff. And I like to know if, say, the office manager has gone into the hospital for a procedure, we like to send the office manager a card and keep up a relationship. So there's a little tiny bit of a relationship there. Not much, but a little bit. So I want to make sure that my transcriptions are nice. That's important for me. Yeah. I don't want something that's going to be rude to a client. Sure. When we used to do tapes here, I had to tell one of our transcriptionists, please do not go into a doctor's office with your swimsuit and your puppy. wear decent clothing when you go into a client's office.
Wow,
I don't
yeah.
have to tell home educators that. They just have that common sense, that good work ethic that I need.
Yeah.
So yes, there is a little bit of a relationship, which is another reason I like home educators and believers. Typically, because we've been churched, we're
Yep.
used to those social skills a little bit more than others.
Right. So, so true. That's such a great point. All right. Well, I've actually asked you all the questions that I had on my list. Do you have anything that you want to share with my audience that maybe we have not thought of?
Well, one thing about what we do is that we are mobile.
Oh,
That
wow.
means that when it's 115 degrees here in Phoenix, I'm going to Colorado next week. I'm taking my work with me. I'm going to work a
Wow.
beautiful condo up in the mountains with my sister-in-law and another friend.
Oh, that's
And it's going to be
fantastic.
delightful. So we can travel. And we have people who work from a motorhome. They're traveling the US with their kids, they're homeschooling, they're seeing all the states, and they're working from a motorhome. So that's a point I wanted to bring out, that there's no geographical restrictions. Now, with that in mind, to work for me, you do have to reside in the US or Canada. You have to be a United States or Canadian citizen. So if you want to be a missionary in Borneo, that won't work for me. You have to be in the US or in Canada. The only exception we make is for United States citizens residing on a US military base. But otherwise, we cannot have you residing in Mexico or China. So that's
Okay.
a good point for many of our people who want to be missionaries. And I get that question a lot. So I wanted to bring that up as well.
Thank you.
Another thing is our company is very easily accessible. So if you want to call or email, we're here. We answer phone 6 days a week. I answer emails 7 days a week, even on Sundays and Christmas. So we're very easily accessible, and we like training and we like hiring. So I hope that this podcast will reach out and reach people who are interested, because we need transcriptionists and we really love hiring home educators.
So good, Deborah. So, so good. Thank you very much for joining us today. And also, just bringing your business sense and the way you have showed up every day for serving the world. Like, seriously, it's been pretty impressive. And I don't even know the half of it. I just know a minute bit of it. So I just appreciate that and appreciate everything that you're doing. And yeah, God bless you for what you're doing. Folks with Fetch the Goodness, I certainly hope that you get in touch with Deborah, if nothing else, just to ask some questions. I think that it would be very important, especially for those of you that have been concerned about finances, to definitely just jump on a phone call. Or, I don't know, Deborah, you probably have a website, so we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But I really want to encourage all parents, male or female, it does not matter. Grandparents, it does not matter how old you are, how much experience you have, but please just reach out if you're struggling in that financial area. This is not something that's impossible. In fact, I even did it when I was a mom at home with 2 children, and then I homeschooled 3 other children. So I had 5 kids under my feet when I was doing medical transcriptionist. So I really enjoyed it. You really can make some great money, more so than being with an employee, or employer rather, I should say. So I definitely want to encourage you to reach out to Deborah. So Deb, where can they find more information about you?
Our phone number, 602-482-0782. Email, info@medtranscription.com. Medtranscription.com is all one word, singular, no S at the end. Our website is www.medtranscription.com. We're also very active on Facebook and TikTok. So I have a home educator, Erica Johns, who manages our TikTok site. And I have another home educator, Anastasia, who helps me with our Facebook site. But we also have a free webinar. It's 40 minutes, and it covers topics like how to work for our company or any other company, plus the other things that we do besides medical transcription, like working as a scribe or as an editor. I talk about how to do the reports, the equipment needed, the earning potential. It's a great PowerPoint presentation, so it illustrates everything that I just said. And it is free, and we do that several times a month. So that's
there you
something
go.
about too, of people just exploring this.
Yes, there you go. That's exactly what I was hoping for. I hadn't asked Deborah if she had any kind of a webinar before we jumped on here. So I'm so thankful that you do have, and I'm very excited about that. I may jump on that myself. So parents, again, you heard it from here from Debra. I would love to encourage you, just jump on the webinar, get your questions answered, and see if this is a good fit for you. Debra, thank you so much for being here. God bless you. And I really would look forward to having you on again at some point.
Thank you so much for everything. I appreciate this.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Thank you for your love, your prayers, and your generous spirit. We couldn't do any of this without any of you. You and your children are the very reason FTG exists. We are always open to feedback and making this a wonderful experience for you and your family. You'll find more information at fetchthegoodness.com.